there's a point in which even if people you're so big, even people that don't like you start following you,
right?
Just for the sake of listening to you and trying to find the problem, the issue, like I'll be worried in 5 years when we'll have like 10 million subscribers. Yeah, that's something that I think we should erase all the first probably 300 episodes when we get there. But until then, woo!
Till then, you're
yeah, till then.
Till then, suck.
This is the Inkpulp Podcast.
Hello.
Welcome to the Inkpulp Podcast.
Why is it that, by the way, to give you context, these guys are so freaking awesome that they decided to switch the times around just for me. And thank you very much. You guys are amazing friends.
Sure.
Best friends in the whole wide world, for whatever that means to you.
Well, you probably forgot what you said in the previous episode.
Which is
You
what?
said that moving the time was a way to try and get out of the podcast.
Matteo, why do you
stand us?
I'm trying to be nice now.
Yeah, I mean, if he's being nice, why do you got to remand him of his other side?
Here's the
Oh, you want to leave the lie then? Just leave the lie, Just
here's the nice,
word, and that's it.
So Matteo's not wrong. It's just a matter of timing. So you guys moved it for me. Thank you very much. And if you recognize, Matteo and I were on for about 10 minutes leading into Shawn coming on. I hit the go button about a minute after. My energy is great. As soon as I hit the go button, like I don't want to be here. My energy literally drops out. You know?
Now we're seeing what happens. Eric's excited about life, and then we hit record, and
I got to find 60 minutes now, 50 something odd minutes to talk to you guys about
I think
something.
what pisses you off, because if it's just the three of us, you're happy. You're kind of, you're nice. What pisses you off is that now, the moment you start recording, you have to share us with other people.
That explains
that's
a
what
lot.
frustrates you.
Nobody else is in this room. It's still the three of us.
Well, but the idea that when you hit record, all of a sudden, this is just us anymore.
There's an awareness.
That's valid. There might be something there.
Very profound.
That you know what? It makes a lot of sense.
Hold on,
because
no, hold on. Let me think about this. Like, it's that. I think Matteo there might be truth to that. Or now that potentially other people are here, why can't they take you fast enough? Why are you now my burden for like 51 minutes? If other people are here, take them, like let's somebody else. Like, I wish I could tag somebody in from the audience and be like, come in here and do this for 51 minutes. Okay.
I was going to say,
I don't know if you're noticing that now when I start, like how do I say that? Like now we're perfectly synchronized.
I love it.
So there's no delay.
To mention it.
Your reaction immediately to what I say.
There's no pixelation on you either. It's amazing.
Yeah, really?
That's great. You look great.
Nope.
I'm officially Elon's bitch then. It's official. I'll officially start from this month on to suck Elon's dick.
Now you're making Eric even more jealous. Now he has to share you intimately with Elon.
No, listen, I'm jealous because he has Starlink and I want to get it for my house. To give context on why Matteo's feed is coming in so nicely, at the end of the day, when you guys see the episode, Jamie has done his magic and synced everything up and everything is pretty and beautiful. But
what Jamie does, sorry to interrupt, but what Jamie does is basically moves my track by a little, probably. Is that right, Jamie? Who knows? But so basically the delay gets shared between you and I. So instead of being like a second and a half, it's going to be like half a second and, 2/3 of a second for you. So it moves things around
but
so
it's,
that it kind of works.
In the moment when we have a guest or we're just kind of like going back and forth and Mattteo sees a joke and it takes him 2 minutes to like respond because of his internet, it becomes less fun. Now with the power of Elon Musk, Mattteo got himself a Starlink unit, which is performing, I think, pretty awesome, right? Money well spent. Maddie, what do you think?
Impressive.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, my jealousy is that he has one and I want to get one for my house, not for my main version of internet, but because, when power goes down over here, internet goes down as well. So it'd be nice to have.
Why not just get it and use it as your main internet?
Because my internet right now is much faster than anything that Starlink can provide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, like it's still feeded by the electricity in your home. So if the power goes down, so does the antenna, the receiver.
No, because I have a generator at my house.
Okay, gotcha.
So that kicks on. Anyway,
okay.
All the technical shit aside, congratulations, pal. You look great. Internet's performing well.
Thank you.
What are we doing?
For a moment, I fear that you would tell me that I looked better when I was pixelated. But
no, I would. Oh, I haven't recently complimented you about your amazing weight loss, looking better and better. You look like you're actually going to live to 50, like before. I was like,
that's the goal right now. I'm not counting in pounds down. I'm counting in years more than I get to live.
That sounds good.
But to be honest with you, I've stopped like losing weight. Like I've been stable over the past, I would say 4 months. I'm planning on losing more. But I'm waiting for, the summer, the real summer to hit. And that's where, because it helps, not because it's a specific deadline.
No.
When it's
when
really hot,
summer,
it's easier for me.
I'm experiencing weather here that I'm like, this is weird, Portland. Stop, knock it off, Oregon. I was like, knock it off. It's too warm. And it's giving me Southern California. I mean, this is nothing compared to Atlanta heat, I'm sure, once it kicks in.
But God. It's kicked in. It has been
but
unbelievably
to me,
hot.
it wasn't so much referred to the weather, but it's more the daily commitments, because there's a point in summer here where everything changes for me, which is when, for example, I stopped going to therapy because we take the summer break, and that happened like a few days ago. And Elia's not going to daycare anymore, so the the whole thing changes. The commitments during the day change. So that's where the summer starts for me, and usually it's a very disciplined moment for me during the year. There's less commitments, less stuff to do, so I can focus more on just the tasks that I have. And also it's easier in general to eat a little bit less during the summer, at least for me. I get hungrier during the winter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Your body
like a
wants
bear.
Yeah.
So
Shawn,
we're asking Shawn.
What's your day? How are
Today?
you, man? Generally,
good.
Yeah.
It's every day is a new day of chaos. Just trying to, like, all the things I've going on. It's a lot.
We got scared for a second, to be honest, Shawn. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
Because you're really responsive through text and stuff, and you were not replying.
Dude, I am treading water at a furious pace. That's it. What you experienced on WhatsApp is how everything in my life is right now. It is nearly impossible to keep up with.
To give people context, the reason why you worried about Shawn is, we have a group message on WhatsApp where we check in. Hey, what's the guest? What's the week? And even just stuff in general, life and all that kind of stuff. And I'm the one that's low commitment on that chat. Mattteo and Shawn are the one that's like, playing conversation tennis. And I would say that Matteo's
which is more or less what happens here. Like it's not that different.
Jamie needs to have Jamie. You need Mattteo and I volleying with tennis rackets.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting you to work right now.
But here's the ball, Shawn.
Mattteo goes in there and says,
like they do in tennis.
Gets enough information in our conversation.
I like how Eric's just going and we're just playing.
But sometimes he'll throw a joke in, he'll throw a joke in and blah, blah, blah. It'll go back and forth and, they'll try to outdo each other. Once in a while, there's a picture of a toilet with poop in it. And and at that point, I don't know who sent the picture. I really honestly don't care. But then there's at some point where Mattteo,
wait, you can't recognize our poops from each other? You're not a real friend, then.
I'm not.
You, Eric.
I'm not.
I know.
After
Matteo's
10 years,
poop.
I was expecting you to be better.
I'm proud. I can say I'm proud that I don't know. And if that's the criteria of being your friend, I'll show myself out right now.
Mattteo, I proudly recognize your poop any day of the week.
I would hope so, man, because one of those came out of your butt and the other one came out of Matteo's, and you should know who took which picture, Is it like a poop challenge? Do you guys have a blindfold on and then you what I mean? You're like touching it. I know that.
Well, first it's smelling. No, first it's a smelling test.
Yeah.
Then the touch test. And then, of course, the tasting one.
Dude, Eric's face is incredible.
It's finally, the internet is finally working. It's great. I'm fucking talking.
Now we get Matteo's full comedic timing.
Yeah.
Like it's in effect. But yeah, so Eric, you were saying the WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, no, it's a good back and forth. We check in with you. We check in with each other. Everything is great. And then there's again, similar sort of conversation style where I do the bare minimum to engage with you guys. And then Mattteo tapers off because he's got to get back to work. He's got a kid. Something's on fire. His internet's not working. And oftentimes Shawn is the only one in there. He's literally talking to himself. Walks in. If it was a room, right? I think here's the visuals. If it's a room, Shawn's in there and he's just touching everything, And then
he's probably touching himself as well.
Potentially. I walk in and I look and I go like, fuck, who's in here? Oh, it's Shawn. Oh, do I want to go into this room? And Mattteo barges past me. It's like, hey, Shawn's in here. Let's go hang out. And you guys are just doing kid and play dance moves. You know what I mean? Just like, you guys see each other. It's an excitable moment. And then Mattteo will go like, okay, that's enough. That's 15 minutes. I got to get back. I got to go. Right. And then I look again and I go like, fuck, dude. And I close the door behind me. And Shawn is just still doing kid and play dance moves by himself. This time with a chair, this time with a computer, this time with a table. He's just practicing all the moves. And so it's strange when I open the door and Shawn's not in there. And I get a little worried, And the same thing happens. Mattteo barges past me and he's ready. He's got the high tabled haircut, that kid does. He's got the big jacket on, and he's got nobody to do the dance moves with.
The 8-ball jacket.
He looks at me. He looks at me and goes like, "What's going on? We have a thing that we do when we're in this room." And I go, "I don't know. We better start looking for Shawn because Anyway, point is, we get worried for a moment when nobody's in the room.
Yep.
And so we check in with you, and it escalates because when we check in with you. Now we take it out of the room, okay? And then we check in with you. And typically when we check in with you, that's almost automatic. It's almost instantaneous. I think it's just you hovering on your phone and waiting for the little tiny iMessage 3 dots. And it doesn't matter who it's from. It could be from your mom.
Like a dog in front of the door waiting for his master to come back home after work. Like, is he right? Oh, here's the noise. Here's the noise. He's coming. He's coming.
It doesn't matter who it is, too. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think it's not even Shawn I don't think it's Shawn with his phone. I think it's Shawn with the Apple Vision Pro. Just like waiting, living his real life, but waiting for the 3 dots.
Yeah. I think he has an app that warns you where the three dots appear anywhere.
Yeah, it just
in
pings
any
anyway.
chat on your computer.
The point is that, typically Shawn's very good about like getting back to us. Really good personality trait. We're making fun of it now, but dependable as hell. He's as dependable as the sun going up, sun going down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yesterday, we both ping him, especially that time of day where Matteo's like, hey, do we have a thing today? Sean's the responsible one. He'll go like, no, we pushed it, remember, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. It didn't happen. Later on in the afternoon, I was like, hey, Shawn hasn't gotten back to us. Message him. Nothing. It goes into the evening and Shawn hasn't gotten back to us yet. Neither of us. So in my head, I thought like Shawn must be having like a really rough sort of like scheduling day or whatever. It's two things. It's that,
Is he
or
dead?
Shawn's
that?
dead. Shawn is dead. Right? Actually, no, I go to that first. I go, Shawn's probably dead. I have to talk my way out of like, no, he's probably not dead. Like he's probably just fine. He's probably just like,
but admit for a brief moment, you're like, wait, if Shawn's dead, I don't have to do this podcast anymore.
No. Hold on. I don't go to Joy, right? I don't go to Joy immediately.
Immediately.
Like,
that
Shawn
comes
is
after.
dead.
It's the aftertaste. Is joy.
Yeah.
When you realize after that you don't.
Yeah, it's how I know how to do the podcast. That's kind of good. But here's the thing: like when I knew this literally happened, so I'm speaking truth. Hey, Shawn's not gonna be there. Fuck, I gotta do this thing with Mattteo. Like that's where my head. That's where my head goes. Or the joy kicked in when I go, I think I could convince Mattteo not to do the show today.
So you not responding, Shawn, put Eric into such a roller coaster of of feelings and moods and emotions that it's fucking crazy.
I had to go to the backyard and whip myself back into like.
I got to do better. I'm trying to do better.
How are you boys doing? It's July 10th when we're recording this. Shawn, what's this episode number? You're taking count of episode numbers because number 200 is in the near horizon, right?
Yes, it is. Today's episode is
198.
198. You are right. That is exactly right. 198. So for episode 200.
This one that we're actually recording is past 200, right?
No, this is 198.
198 isn't the one that just came out? No? Let me check.
I don't think so. Yeah, check. Let me know if my numbering's off.
Well, that's proof right there. This is what I impart in this small microcosm of that little tiny 10-second exchange.
Oh, no. You're right. I was wrong.
There it is.
The last one with Attack Peter was 194. So it's the one that we... Yeah, okay.
Eric, did you listen to that episode? The one that came out on Monday?
Say that back to yourself again.
Okay.
And then really think.
Yeah, but
ask
every now and
yourself
then
a
you'll
question and give yourself an answer, Shawn.
But you have said in the past, hey, I listened to the one you and Maddie did, and you guys did great.
Like an Alzheimer's patient, I'll keep forgetting, and once in a while I'll check in and be like, there's a reason why I don't fucking check into this show.
Oh, it was actually a great episode. Like I really enjoyed myself. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know Peter before that. Like, I think we met briefly somewhere at some shows, but I never had the chance to spend time and talk to him. So it was great. It was great. Yeah. I had a lot of fun, and we skipped through, comic books, doing shows, but then also music, a lot of interesting stuff, interesting connections. So I think you should have him on again. It was really,
he said he wants
fun.
to come back. He did.
Absolutely.
He said anytime we want to have him back. I said we definitely do. But yeah, so we were talking about episode 200. So a lot of
people have great news, guys.
Yeah, we have really good news.
Great news.
I'll let you share it, Mattteo. You share the news. You're very excited.
So basically, what happened? What was it? This weekend when it happened? A few days ago.
Yeah. Within the week, yeah.
Well, by the time where this episode will come out, it will probably... Oh, no. This is 198. Again, I get confused with the fucking numbers. So basically we got the news from Jamie, and he was able to recover all of Craig Thompson's part in the podcast. So we're able to get the episode back. And yes. I don't think he was talking about quality issues or stuff like that, but in general, we got both the video and audio, right?
Yeah, it's so what we'll have is normally Jamie gets like a feed from each of us, a video and audio feed from Eric, from me, from you, and a guest, and he can cut back and forth to whoever's talking on the screen. But because he found this on
like he's doing now, for example. And then back to Shawn.
And then back to Eric. I can hear the crickets. Jamie's going to put the crickets in right there. So what's going to happen is I think all Jamie has is what you guys are seeing right now. So it'll be 4 of us on screen for the whole episode at once. So it'll sound fine. It'll look fine. It just won't be like cutting back and forth between individual shots, from what I understand.
Well, still, we'll have the
content is there.
Everything. Content is there. So which is what matters. I was so annoyed when I found out that we lost that episode.
Me too. Because I thought that was maybe the best one we've had.
Did you tell Craig yet?
Yeah, I did. He asked if he could listen to it before we release it. So Jamie's putting it together, so you can check it out. But yeah, I spoke to him.
That's awesome.
Imagine
if he says no after hearing it again. He says, "No, you know what? I had second thoughts. You shouldn't
Don't
be.
Say that.
That episode should not be out.
I can't let this out. You guys will ruin my life if you let it out." What were you saying, Eric? Eric, what did you ask me?
I'm curious to know if he's still nervous about those kinds of conversations getting out there. And
what he said to me was he's been having a little bit of a roller coaster on the Ed Piskor stuff in terms of like how he sees it. It's up and down. So he wants to hear what he said and see how it gels with what he's thinking more recently. But I'm gonna hop on a call with him in the next week or two. So he just wants to talk about like what he's been thinking and going through. So I want to talk to him about that.
Well, just reassure him, man. Just because we like rediscovered the episode, I just don't want to add to the guys' stress level and anxiety. If we found it, we're excited about it. End of the day, we be respectful. It's specifically in this case, because we do care about the spaces that he's been, this stuff that he's been through. So
absolutely. And if we
absolutely.
need to edit,
that was the thing.
Yeah, anything that needs to be, if we need to edit anything, we'll do it. And honestly, the Ed Piskor stuff was such a small part of it. I feel like the real meat of what we talked about and the important stuff wasn't the Ed stuff. It was not at all.
But I think I'm talking about in totality, right? Like it was clear from that interview that he still has, if not a tiny bit, a lot of like PTSD from all the stuff that happened to him leading into that space. And if he feels like he didn't represent himself well, I don't want to add another stone onto that weight on his back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
That was about.
I'm just. What were you going to say, Mattteo? I was just going to say, from my conversation with him, is he's fine with everything he talked about himself. He just wants to see what he had to say about the Ed stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. What I was about to say, it was simply that from my recollection, I don't remember anything like particularly, specific that could get anyone in trouble or anything. We're basically mostly celebrating, his work, and that he taught to us, and it talked about what happened to him here and there. But at the same time, if he finds, that some stuff shouldn't be out there, I will totally respect, because,
absolutely,
I'll never understand what he went through, because I'm not him. And what happened to him, did it happen to him? So, absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Shawn, can I ask you about that before I lose track of it? This is going to be, by the way, buddy, thank you for having us on. This has been historically your thing. We just come in here and poop all over your floors and leave the week after, you know. You've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah.
And without going into details so that you don't put yourself in a compromised position, not compromising yourself, there's been episodes when you were recording Inkpulp in the past, in which you gave them the opportunity to listen to the interview, right? And they said, no, thanks. Can you not release that? Right.
Yes.
Where is your compass on that? What do you mean? Where do you land on it? Do you go like, hey, you knew what you were signing up for, and so like,
right. That's my thought is this: I will never release anything that someone doesn't want out there. I just won't do it. But that is exactly my thought. It's like, why did you say it then? You knew what, like, we got into this, you knew what this was, and you spoke on it, and it's obviously something you feel. And I think it's happened 3 times. And I can say with at least 2 of them, it was who I was interviewing just got pussified, I guess is the best word. Like it was just like, really? Like, you said it, you feel it, now you want to hide it. Okay. Yeah. But I will never release anything.
It was probably Jim food, right?
It was definitely
clearly it's Jim.
But there was one that I pulled back that I chose to pull back because the person I was interviewing was just a bit like, it wasn't good for them. They were a bit unstable, and I didn't feel right putting it out.
Yeah.
Still, Jim Food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Each and every single time. It's an interesting space to be in these days. Hanging out with you guys again. It's a hangout for me. Craig can say what he wants to say. Whomever it is can say what they want to say. Right. But then there's this not added, but there's this extra feature that I'm never aware of, and I don't know if you guys are. But there's people who like, hey, when you bring people on, you know you're giving them a platform to say things that are potentially hurtful to other people.
Right.
Do you guys ever think of it with that layer, with that overlay?
Yeah. Oh,
on top?
Absolutely.
Do you really? Tell me.
Well, I mean, ever since, especially in the beginning, I would think about that. I never want, like, I don't want to use any platform as a hurtful or hateful thing. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. And also it attracts people to it when you engage in like a negative, like either an attack or back and forth or downplaying of someone. It engages people in a really awful way. You know, like a gladiator arena, like it brings out some really nasty shit. And I didn't want my podcast, especially, to be like that. And also it's a bit unfair. Like, it's hard. We live in an age, and I think about this a lot. Like, can you speak critically of someone's work without it being a personal attack on the person? So that's another thing I wrestle with, because I would love to have critical conversations about someone's work. But then our current culture and climate with social media is they would be like the public would take that and turn it into something like, oh shit, they're talking shit about this person. And it's like, no, we were just saying, like, you know, maybe their compositional elements could be a little better, you know? So yeah, it kind of lowers the value of the conversation. It cheapens it. Yeah. That's how I see it.
What do you think, Matty? I've heard you say retard a bunch of times on this show. You know, I'm like,
yeah.
Luckily,
all the times I said the N word, you know, Shawn was kind enough to, you know, censor it. So we're good. I think we're good. And Shawn is a Jew, so I can be, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You have a card.
Satire is what you're saying.
Because I have a out of jail card. How do you call it?
But so, Mattteo, Eric's a black guy, so you can say stuff.
Is black. Not only he's Asian, he's a black Asian. So I can basically, I'm covered.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt? Do you ever think about it in context of like, you know, when we bring people on, so let's say somebody like Craig. Oh, let's not use Craig because I feel bad every time somebody brings him
let
up
me say one more thing
example.
about a question you asked as it applies to Craig about having someone pull an episode after you're recording it. I don't put Craig in the categories that I was just listing. He's clearly been through a very intense trauma. Whereas the other people I was interviewing, I can't say that for. So that's a very different story. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
What about you, Matt?
You were about to repeat the question because I didn't get it properly. So can you?
Yeah. Like, so for instance, we talk as if and this is multiple things from our guests, from the way our conversational styles, from the way we joke back and forth. So it's like, you know, there are times when I catch us just talking when I do listen to the show. I'm all like, if I were more sensitive, but clearly I'm aware, right? Sensitivity and awareness, two different things, right? Like if I was more sensitive, I would say, hey, can we bleep out that thing that Mattteo just said, the retard word or whatever it was? Because people like really like that's almost a banned word everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
Or when we were making jokes about how I'm black adjacent, blah, blah, blah. Like those kinds of things are okay when, in my opinion, okay across the board because we understand the context of it.
Yeah.
But now we're broadcasting it to the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
Not limited to the conversation, but also people that we have conversations with, you know? Yeah. Including a Craig, not exclusively. So I'm always thinking about like, I thought about this the other day and I dismissed it because I'm like, I don't care enough. But it is brought up to me once in a while to be like, hey, you guys are platforming X, Y, and Z. And I go, yeah. So do we take that attitude? Is that where you guys come? Is that where also you guys are coming from? In as far as your conduct, in as far as like how the show potentially gets broadcast and interpreted?
Well, I think that we're in a position now where we being followed by basically people who are interested in the podcast right now. Like, so I think that we're not in that position in which you're put under a huge scrutiny in general. First of all,
we're not, or we are.
We're not because, you know, like how many people, you know, are subscribed. Like,
Matteo's basically saying we're doing so terribly. He's not worried about anything.
No, we're actually doing.
I'm kidding.
Doing great for what it is. Yeah, no, I know you were kidding, but we're doing great for who we are, you know. But on the large scale, we're basically nothing. So we're not at the point in which there's a point in which even if people you're so big that even people that don't like you start following you,
right?
Just for the sake of listening to you and trying to find the problem, the issue, you know. Until we're not there, like the people that follow us right now, I'm sure there's a couple of people that probably don't like us, but in general, the reason why they follow us is pretty direct. Like, I like these guys, so I decide to follow them.
Yeah.
You know, which is, the natural standards. Therefore, they're willing to accept like a off color, a more than, how do you say, above average off color joke that can happen sometimes, because you have that, you have a room for forgiveness when you like the person in front of you.
Right.
So I think that I'm not worried about that right now. Like, I'll be worried in 5 years when we'll have like 10 million subscribers. Yeah, that's something that I think we should erase all the first probably 300 episodes when we get there. But until then, woo!
Till then, you're a retard.
Yeah, until then. All right, I was just curious.
Till then,
that was my
dick suck cunt tits.
Idiots.
But to answer your question, Eric, with us three, I think when we do go off color or whatever, it's never coming from a place of hate, and I think most people can pick up on that. And we're just being silly and having fun. And I think people like that about us. So I'm not worried about it.
I'm just curious.
Why, are you worried about it?
No, I'm aware of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sensitive about it. I'm like, there are things that we do that potentially could rub people the wrong way. But at its core,
and that's okay, though. I mean, the way I see art is, if it rubs you the wrong way, it's just not for you. It's, it's music. It's you can't please everyone. You got to do what you do, be honest to your voice. And to those people that don't like it, it's not for them. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's my attitude too, man.
Are you sure that's your attitude? Because sometimes I remember you telling me that you had to hire somebody as a social media manager because you couldn't stand as you go into these loopholes of reading comments and stuff like that, and you get angry. So you probably on a more serious note, you're probably more attracted by the negative comments and stuff like that. So.
Well, naturally, I love the negative comments. They feed me.
Dude, did you guys see someone on the Millar episode left a comment? It was like this rage comment, and I didn't understand at all what they were saying. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, get a clue.
What
really? Was it? Yeah, it's on the Millar episode.
What was it? What was it about? Get a clue.
I don't even know. I really don't know. He was awesome. Using terms I've never heard of, like initials for things. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then in all caps, he just said, get a clue.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that's the point. Just don't pay attention to anything that I said. Just generally get a clue, because you're obviously clueless,
It was in response to something Millar had said and we were talking about, but I was
I gotta look for it later.
You guys are excited to see the freaking feedback of the thing.
It was just, it was odd. It was odd. Yeah. I don't understand the leaving of a negative comment. It's just a weird thing to me.
Here's the thing. Generally, unless there's some weird call to violence or whatever, let people have their opinions.
No, I have no problem with that. I don't understand the mentality of let's say you see a piece of artwork and you don't like it. Getting in there and be like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Why do you have to voice that?
I can't speak to the person, but generally that's how people are programmed now, Yeah.
Especially with internet and everything with social media. Yeah. It's an outlet. Yeah. It's a perfect outlet to not having to deal with your own feelings. So instead of dealing internally with them, let's just vomit it out to the world so I feel better.
It's what Mattteo said, months ago. Which is people just don't have the personal discipline to just sit with the thing that they feel uncomfortable with. They're almost and the other one that he said, this was months and months ago, is people think that they're important, and they have to.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Which is, by the way, I have a perfect example for both of these things.
Yeah.
A thing that just happened during the weekend.
Yeah.
So basically in February, Francesca bought 2 tickets to go and see Queens of the Stone Age.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were doing a tour, and they had 3 dates in Italy. One in Rome on a Thursday. One in Bassano, which is a city nearby Venice, I would say, generally speaking. And then the third one in Milan. So she bought a ticket for the third one in Milan. So what happened is that they played in Rome on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Then on Friday, late afternoon, evening, they announced they couldn't play in Bassano.
Oh, okay.
And so you start feeling, we started looking on social media because we're like, okay, so what the fuck are we going to do? Are we, are they canceling the next show for tomorrow or not? Mm-hmm. So we start, getting tuned and see what's to get updates. So you start seeing on social media, some people were just cursing. They're starting to be frustrated because they bought tickets for that day. But it was normal, fuck, like that. Right.
Right.
And some people were making fun of the fact that because they are avid drinkers in that area of Italy. So they told they were writing jokes like, oh, probably Josh Homme was the singer, the lead man in the band. He probably came to our area and he drank too much, so he could not perform and stuff like that. So it was still a normal like situation.
Yeah.
And then somebody was pissed, but it was a general level of being pissed. It's just sad because this thing is not happening. And then they decided to play in Milan.
Oh shit!
So the day after.
Yeah.
So they just basically did Rome, then they skipped that date in Bassano, and then they played in Milan. Then hell.
People must have lost their minds.
Oh my God. You have no idea. Like from just cursing them out to just a manuscript of how unprofessional they are, and a lot of hypothesis of, whoa, but if you were sick for yesterday thing, why did you play the day after? I don't know any sickness that just lasts a day. Like old doctors all of a sudden, they knew everything about and nobody knew shit. Like they just cancel a date and then they play the next date.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you could tell, like, I've never seen them live, but a lot of people were saying that it wasn't like, it was a kind of low energy concert. So he probably was still sick with something. And they just played an hour and 10 minutes and then they left without doing any, how do you call it when, you get called back on? Oh, yeah. So evidently there's still something going on, and people start piling shit over shit about them, about how unprofessional they are, about like Dave Grohl broke a leg during a tour and did the rest of the tour with a broken leg because he cares so much and is so professional, and they are really unprofessional. Last concert I'm gonna see of them, and I hate them, and blah blah blah. There's all huge discussion.
Yeah.
And then there's a new thing. After that date, they had to go back to the States. So they finished the last leg of the tour was back in the States, and they canceled all the dates basically. So there's really something, Yeah. So what happened? Probably, I'm not them, but probably what happened was like he wasn't. They were talking about an hernia, so probably he had a hernia. So he decided, it was like when in Bassano, he was like, guys, I can't perform. I can't make it, Yeah. Then he got a little better in Milan and they were like, you know what? Let's try and do this one and see what happens. They did it. And then by the end, it was like, fuck guys, I can't do that. I can't do a tour like this. It's too fucking painful,
Right.
Even if it wasn't an hernia, it could be the natural evolution of whatever sickness you might got,
Right.
So, and that's perfectly.
But
and
to
now
be fair,
the other people were like,
you're still theorizing, right, Matty? There's no news about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm theorizing. But no, the only thing is there's the rumor that it wasn't hernia.
Okay.
So somebody on social said that they know someone in their team, and this person said that he got hospitalized for a hernia when in Rome, I think. Something like that. But this whole thing, and not only that, when they canceled all the other dates, the other people were like, so I hope that now all the people that criticize them, they're ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
And this other old shit show started. And he was fucking entertaining as fuck, don't get me wrong. But it was like human beings at their worst,
Yeah.
Why don't you just say that it's frustrating? You bought tickets, you're probably far away from Bassano, so you had to buy, book a hotel room and a flight or a train. You had to get there, and then you find out there's no date, there's no concert. Of course, you're gonna be frustrated. You can just say, fuck, I'm frustrated by this situation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you should go there on their page and just spend an hour just laughing your ass off. And the only thing that will devalue your experience is because you don't understand the that the dialect from that area of Italy, because a lot of insults were in that. That's what I told a friend of mine. If you want a quick course on all the swear words in that dialect, in that specific dialect, you just go there and spend an hour there. You'll be a professor in no time.
So how was the show in Milan?
It was nice. It was really nice. And not only that, I got the chance to see Royal Blood. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
It's a British band.
Yeah, I love Royal Blood.
Actually, I think it was a festival, so I think there were other bands, but we got in a little late, so we got just in time to see Royal Blood. Amazing band. It was just two people.
They were I was going to say, they're just a duo. Yeah.
So it's from a performer standpoint, it's fucking scary because you're completely like exposed. There's not a lot of instruments that you can hide behind. It's just a drum, a guy playing drums, and another guy, playing guitar / bass, depending on the song, and singing over it. And so sometimes they have a keyboard guy, but it's it's just on the background. So it's basically just two guys playing for thousands of people, and they were great. It was a lot of fun. And again, Queens of the Stone Age was great. I liked it. People say they were a little how do you say, undertone? No. Does it make sense? Yeah. Like they were not at their top, but still a really enjoyable concert.
Gotcha. And that
so there you go, Shawn. There's the reason why the people just say whatever the heck they want. They've maybe, I mean, there's so many maybes in there, but generally it's because people think like, hey, here's the other thing that I think of as well. Like there's a comment section. Right. It's an invitation to say whatever the heck you want. And they're already predetermined to like, if I don't like this thing, if it makes me feel uncomfortable. What's strange is it takes that muscle twitches faster than the guys who do like it and feel compelled to leave something.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a strange concept to me. I think whenever people do leave positive comments, I don't, I'm always like, that guy could have not done that. There's plenty of videos that I go through and I'm like, whoa, that's really cool, but I'm not compelled to go write something. However, if I see something that I'm really super negative about, oh man, it takes me a minute to like not fucking, to control myself to do something. And I think generally people can relate to something like that. They don't often, engage in apathy gear. They engage I need to say something because that is so offensive to me. Right.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that we've been predisposed to.
Well, it's also, it's even weirder because what's so offensive can often be something fairly benign, like
it's so subjective,
Yeah.
Yeah. But it could just be like a piece of artwork where you didn't like a hand and someone's like going off on that hand. That's not really offensive. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's rare that somebody comments, like if you do something wrong, drawing wise, it's really rare that somebody was like, oh, you drew it wrong. Then normally there has to be like somehow controversial, something that moves some feelings in people. Therefore, what creates is this thing. Okay, this thing makes me feel bad. So instead of just saying, okay, I have a problem with that thing, I got to say, there's something wrong with you because you made something that made me feel bad.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Which is exactly what happened with a concert. Like instead of saying, I feel bad because, I was hoping I could watch you live, you're like, you're doing something wrong. You are unprofessional. And that's the problem, Right.
But hold on. To be fair, sometimes it's both. Right. Sometimes both things can be true, which is I feel bad because of your unprofessionalism. I think it's a now everything must be that way. Right. Hey, I feel uncomfortable with X. So going back to Millar, right? Millar, I don't know, biased. I fully admit I like Mark. So like when he says something, there are plenty of things where I'm like either A, I don't know about that, or B, I agree, or C, I disagree. But it's not enough for me to be like, shut up, you're never going to be on my show. Like it's never.
Well, not only that, you said a really important thing. Like there's this factor, which is, I don't know, and it's really important, especially in the concert case. nobody knew other than them.
Right.
They didn't declare anything. So if you don't know, like, there's people, like, they were saying, well, yeah, but that's not the way to go about it. You should do a communicate when you communicate and say you're sorry. And then you shouldn't have done the Milan date. You should have skipped the Milan date as well. So who are you, like, to tell other people you don't even know this, guys? And now you're so fucking entitled that you decide what Josh Home and Queens of the Stone Age, who don't know the fuck you are, they're like, oh yeah, right, you're right. We should have done that. What you have done, what you had done.
But that word entitled, that's where I think the phones have created an entitlement epidemic.
Yeah. If you know, if I know exactly what happened, then I can comment on, okay, that's not the most professional of behaviors. But if you don't know, why the fuck do you have to express judgment on a thing that you don't know? You know
what? I think it's part of what Shawn said. Let me walk you guys through this and tell me where this falls apart, this concept, because I haven't thought it all the way through. So I suspect that people used to do this all the time. I suspect that people had these opinions.
Absolutely. It's a totally natural thing. It's a totally human thing.
To give over the idea of, like, this is what they should have done. This is what they should have done. The key difference is somebody said, hey, here's a comment section. Like it's the first time in recent history where something, I'm sure there's a way to communicate with the artist and communicate with your community and all that kind of stuff. But this is the first time where it's as close as to immediate. And now they don't have to think about anything anymore. Now they can just go like, blah, whatever. They can change their minds about it later or what have you. I think this is the first time in however, I can't even think the last time. Message boards started it first. And people would go in there and like libraries of like feedback on whatever, something that they like. I'm guilty of it, but now it's even more immediate, you hit send and you just sit there and wait to either get validated or pushback from whomever it is that's following you.
Well, I said this already on the podcast, but there's this amazing joke that explains exactly what you just said. By Jim Jeffries. Sorry for repeating it, but it's go poignant. That was like, when things were still working, when we had muskets, why? Because they give you time to think, and he started staging a moment in which two people are fighting. You're like, oh, you asshole. You'll see what I'm going to do to you. And then he grabs the musket, then he grabs the powder, and then he starts like this. And then he slowly, you see the energy going down on the guy's like, you're not a bad guy. Come on. Because that's what happens normally. Like trying to think, trying to think about if somebody from Italy wanted to talk to you about something that you did on a book, I first of all, I had to know your address. Your home address without internet. I had to find it. I had to grab, a letter, write everything with your hands, or maybe a typewriter or whatever, a computer. Back then we still had computer. We already had computers. Then I had to, fold it, put it in a letter box, and I had to buy stamps, which probably to send, something to the States, it would be pretty expensive. And then I have to the post office and send it to you. In the hope that from Italy, this piece of paper gets to you, And hopefully you give a shit about what I wrote,
Right. And then you regret it after you send it. It's a whole new thing.
You regret it after you go and buy paper to write it immediately because you start evaluating, which is an important process.
Right.
Which is like, do I really care about Eric knowing what I think about his book? Do I care so much that I had to put myself through this much labor and trouble? No, it's not worth it. And you just go on and live your life, forgetting about that moment. Or maybe you'll have a laugh about yourself in 30 minutes. But like, oh, you remember, or maybe in 5 years, like telling yourself, oh, you remember how stupid you were? You wanted to send a letter to that black Filipino artist.
Black Filipino Asian. that's my energy just bottomed out like crazy. This, I appreciate 5 a.m. I really do, but something's been happening. Oh, I know what it was. Have I told you guys that in recent times I've been getting waves of like numbness?
Yeah.
I told you that, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. So, like, for whatever reason, it just freaking started up, and it was clearly a cause for concern. Or
it's in your arm, right?
Yeah, no, it's on my. Sometimes it goes through my left side.
Your whole side, okay.
At first, it was alarming, and then I just accepted it. I was just like, "Well, this is it. We're just gonna go dig a 7 foot deep hole."
That's what's gonna happen from now on.
No, this is just what happens
now.
I'm just walking around getting waves of dumbness. But then I went to my,
I'm sorry, Eric. I just imagined you having sex missionary style, and all of a sudden, all the left part of your body just, goes numb, and you're like, ugh! Go on one side.
Hold on. You just described my lovemaking style. I do that anyway without numbness, So here's the thing. Like I go to the doctor and he starts giving me. By the way, if Jeff DeCal, if you're listening to this, cover your ears because this is really, really offensive to you. He gives me like muscle relaxer. All right. Mm-hmm. And so he said, listen, we're going to put you on a regimen of like muscle relax for X amount of time. After that, we'll check in to see, because he's trying to take everything off of the table to make sure that it's not something neurological, which to my argument, don't you want to do that first and then go the other way? Because if there's a worm eating away at my brain, don't you want to figure that out first instead of like, well, it's got to be a worm now.
I had the opposite experience where they went for brain tumor first, freaked me out. And in the end, it was just anxiety. I was like, why didn't we start there?
No, I opt for brain tumor. Like, hey, it's my disposition is like, it's got to be a fucking brain tumor, right? And like, no,
that's what I was about to say. I was like, I think that you kind of enjoy the moment when they tell you brain tumor. There's a part of you.
If he told me brain tumor, I also thought to myself, like, could I get any sadder than I am now? Probably not. So just give me the fucking brain tumor.
It'd probably be a great excuse to be such an asshole, Eric.
No, I don't need an excuse to be an asshole.
It'll give Eric pleasure. He'll be like, there's an end in sight.
Point is, they put me on this regimen. They want to make sure that it's nothing like... Well, at least
you won't have to do the podcast anymore, right?
right.
The silver lining.
Gentlemen, to be fair, I don't have to do this fucking podcast now. Anyway, so he puts me on this regimen of like muscle relaxer to make sure it's not some kind of pinched nerve. Clearly it is, because I haven't had an episode since he put me on it. So he set it up so it's going to be X amount of days. At the end of the regimen, I check in. And he tells me like, okay, I think that's what it is. Then we'll move to the next stage of like, figuring out which pinched nerve it is or which pinch, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But those muscle relaxers, boy, I have not slept that well in a long time.
Those are
good.
So
now I'm having to like deal with like, the sweet embrace of muscle relaxer sleep. And then my alarm goes off.
Shawn, are we seeing the beginning of the life of Eric as an addict?
Yes, that's
where
exactly
everything started to fall apart.
Yes.
No, hold
exactly
on.
Right.
That's the wrong. This is when everything starts to come together. You know what I mean?
See, that proves your point, Mattteo.
I'm imagining 2 years from now, there's a compilation of all these moments in an Inkpulp podcast of all the progression of Eric's addiction. So this is the first clip, and then more to follow.
No. Either weight gain or weight loss, and then people are just going to blame you. Hey, he was crying out for help on 10th of July, 2024. You guys were just making jokes.
Yeah,
anyway.
You guys just made fun of him. What kind of friends are you?
Well, speaking of, since we spoke about people that talk and open their mouth behind without knowing stuff, like my impression is that because the timing for that thing that you had, the numbness, was suspicious to me. Because
now Matteo's a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Shark.
Hold on, I'm gonna open the message board so you can type this instead of fucking telling me to my face.
No. This is a really it will make sense. Okay, it's not that scientific, but
as any good doctor would say.
Yeah. So it really coincided with the problems at work that you had. So you were really stressed out in that period.
Yeah. Sure.
And when a person is under a level of really high stress because you had your family, then you had the trip as well.
Yep.
When you had those problems. So it was a bunch of stuff that lined up. And I think,
for sure,
when the stress levels are really high, this kind of things, it's pretty normal that happens,
Could stress pinch a nerve? If muscles
so here, I know for sure that after this show, after being like here for like 50 some odd plus minutes, sometimes 60 plus, I get waves of numbness all the fucking time. It feels like apathy, I'm like, what? And right as we're talking, I can feel it. And I took extra, muscle relaxer before I got on here. I took 3 and still I'm feeling waves of numbness. And I'm like, you guys might be right.
Eric, when you get to the point where you're chopping up the muscle relaxers and snorting them, just let us know.
Yeah,
I don't snort them, Shawn, because that's too obvious. I just put them in my armpits and let them seep into my system.
I was going to say you shove them up your ass.
And also save some for when you come to Italy.
You want some? Is that what you're saying? You want me to be your dealer? I was going to talk about. Well, maybe we can pick this up later. Do we have a guest next week? Is it just us?
It's just me and you, Eric. We can get a guest Maddie? If you want. He's on vacation.
No. I'll be on vacation.
Good man. I was going to talk about how there was a version of me that was much younger, much younger. When I would go to a convention and see like an artist and there's somebody who's supposed to be big. Like, for instance, it happened to Heroes. There's the guys who draw the DuckTales books, right? Don Rosa and all those guys.
Yeah.
And some of those guys set up, like, for instance, Carl Barks, he didn't know how influential he was to a whole generation of manga artists who were getting these books, to them. And he's the guy Tezuya who created Astro Boy and all that kind of stuff. He cites him as one of the big influences in his life to have made the kind of cartooning that he did. And when you see some of these guys who are of the same era or similar era, and then they'll get lines in front of them. There was a version of me when I was a youth, and I would see that. I'm like, it's so heartbreaking to see. It happens to
I remember you saying that.
You just name it, Yeah.
And
one of my fears back then was to hit a level of irrelevancy.
Yeah, I remember
in which
we've talked about
hey,
this,
nobody's coming to the table anymore. Now maybe it's high time I exit, And then I thought about that this morning. And I don't care. Like, I don't. It's we just came back from Heroes. There was a group of people who were there to make sure, who made sure to like say, hey man, I loved your work since whatever, blah blah blah. And I have an appreciation for that. But that relevancy concept, as I transition into a version of my career where I think I went back to being so 10. Where it's just about me doing the stuff that I love doing.
Yeah.
Like I just showed you guys the stuff that I'm trying to learn on 3D, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's clumsy. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I'm struggling so hard to make this work. And here's the picture in my head and here's what I'm able to do in this space. But I'm having the fucking time of my life. And at no point do I think to myself like, God, I hope people appreciate this shit that I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Let's definitely talk about that next week because I gave my first tattoo yesterday. So what you just described feeling is exactly what I'm feeling.
Shawn, that's congratulations, but also the person who got that tattoo.
Good luck.
I already did. It's done. It's done. They've
got it I'm
now
just saying, like,
life.
if he's watching, I'm like, oh boy. That's just a double whammy. All right. Okay. Say your goodbyes so we can go.
This is Mattteo. The Inkpulp Podcast.
Hey, Eric, what's up?
Hey, Shawn, I was just looking for Mattteo online like I do every morning for my daily dose of inspiration. And all of a sudden, I stumbled upon his new website.
Mattteo has a website? That's amazing. Let me see.
Isn't it great? It has everything you need to know about Mattteo. You can buy his books, check his newest Instagram posts. You can even watch the latest episode of our podcast on it.
Wow, Mattteo is amazing. This is so great. But wait a second. What is this?
This is the best part. By subscribing to the Dumb Shark newsletter, not only will you receive promo codes for original art on Essential Sequential and information about new releases, but you'll also have access to a digital version of Behind the Fins, which is Matteo's unpublished new sketchbook that collects all of his best cover layouts.
Wow, Mattteo is so generous. This is an awesome gift. I want it too. Let me subscribe right now.
Yeah, Mattteo really knocked it out of the park with this one. Right when you think he's hit his peak, he somehow finds a way to outdo himself. I'm so impressed.
Hey guys, I'm a little worried. Looks like someone keeps looking for naked pictures of me online. Wait a second. Eric, is that you?
Nope.